Before you watch this video, make sure you like, share and subscribe to our channel, The Awakening Zimbabwe. Zimbabweans. Today I decided that we discuss why is it that the government has decided to promulgate a policy of banning commuter omnibuses that we are so popularly calling the combis. Why ZUPCO? Zimbabwe is the only country that has decided to ban the use of these combis. If you consider countries like South Africa that have a larger population and more so have a larger traffic, they didn't ban the use of these commuter omnibuses. They are still operational, though there are guidelines for their operations. But Zimbabwe has decided to ban their use completely. The government introduced this policy knowing pretty well that they didn't have a sufficient fleet to sustain the population of our country. So this only proves that they have a sinister agenda of banning combis during this time. The government knows that the recent shutdowns that have happened in Zimbabwe, they are strongly dependent on the use of the public transport system. So the intelligence system noticed that if the government were able to control the transport system, it will be easy to thwart any form of a shutdown. This policy has been contemplated on for a long period of time, but the government was failing to come up with a way of banning these combis. So COVID-19 has become a conducive excuse for them to ban these combis and introduce a state-run transport system, just like they did with the SI-85 of 2020, when they through the back door reintroduced the dollar. So they are using COVID-19 as an excuse of banning combis and reintroducing ZUPCO. ZUPCO is controlling all the buses, and those who are running combis are now forced to register under ZUPCO. Now, if they are now under ZUPCO, it means the laws that are regulating these commuter omnibuses are those of the state. So all those commuters that were registered under the likes of Njova, Mbaiwa, they are no longer operational under the regulations of privately owned commuters. Now, this assists the government to thwart any form of a protest or a shutdown that may be organized by the opposition parties or the civil rights groups. So the government is taking advantage of COVID-19 to trample on the rights of the people. Property rights are no longer being respected. The government is now running a monopoly of the transport system. Why? Because they are afraid. They are afraid of the boiling pot. They are afraid that people are going to act against the government. So it has nothing to do with COVID-19, because if we consider ZUPCO itself is a threat when it comes to the spread of COVID-19. If you look at the way people crowd in the buses, there is no social distancing. Even when people are queuing, waiting for the buses, waiting for the commuters that are operating under ZUPCO, there is no social distancing. So certainly this has nothing to do with the control of the spread of the coronavirus, but it has everything to do with the control of the politics of the country. Now, Zimbabweans, this policy is going to work for the government as long as we continue not to work in unity. Someone tells a tale of a frog. It says you take a frog, you put it in a vessel, and you fill it with water, and you start heating that vessel. As the water in the vessel gains the temperature, because the frog is a reptile, it's exothermic in nature. instead of jumping out of the vessel, the frog starts adjusting its internal temperatures to suit the external temperatures. By the time the water starts boiling, it will be too late for the frog to jump out, and eventually the frog will die. Why is it like that? It's because the frog did not jump out of the vessel well in time up until the water started boiling. This is our situation in Zimbabwe. We are so good to adapting to the situations. ZANU Pf is hitting the pot, and as the temperature changes, as Zimbabweans, we are so good at adapting to the situation which they throw at us. We've been adapting for ages. They introduced the bond note. It was worthless money. We complained, but we adapted. And later they introduced the RTGS. Now they have reduced our earnings to nothing. Still, we find ways of adapting. Instead of jumping out of the pot, we keep on regulating our temperatures to suit them. And soon it will be too late for us to jump out of this vessel. It is time for us to act in unity as Zimbabweans. It is time for us to jump out of this pot. Remember, the frog needs both the water and the vessel for it to survive. But it doesn't need the fire which is heating the vessel. We need to jump out of the vessel and kick the fire that is causing the temperature to rise. It is time as Zimbabweans that we act in unity. We stand up against this regime. We jump out of the vessel and kick this regime, which is keeping on increasing temperature on us. They are busy looting money. Recently we saw the COVID gate scandal. The children of Mnangagwa, they are eating money. The Minister of Health, they are eating money. They are looting. Corruption is rampant in the organization called Zimbabwe. But no one is doing anything about it. Let us not be comforted with the Malawian situation, that we saw things happening in Malawi, so they can happen in Zimbabwe. Our situation is different from that of Malawi. In Malawi, the army was with the people. In our case, the army is on its own. The army is running the state house. The army is not with the people. So the solution of Zimbabwe doesn't lie in the ballot, because we've seen it happening and it has failed since 1990 when ZANU Pf went into elections with the Zoom. We came to Sankirai 2000 up until the 2018 elections. It has proven that no matter how unpopular ZANU Pf is, the pen is not going to take them out of the system. It is us people, the owners of Zimbabwe, who should stand up and fight for a just cause. Let us fight for our own countries, rather than scattering around the world, trying to adapt to the vessel called Zimbabwe, where ZANU Pf is putting so much fire and increasing temperature. It is time for us not to adapt, but we stand together and fight for our freedom. It is time for us to fight for the future generations. If we cannot fight for ourselves, let us fight for our children. Let us not be cowards. Let us not watch the first family enriching itself at our own expense. The majority of us suffer from a syndrome that if we managed to survive in 2008, then we can survive this time around. But remember, when we survived in 2008, they looted 15 billion US dollars. And this 15 billion, it was as good as, it was a $1 bill that got lost. Now imagine how much will be lost this time around. Think of it from the time Mnangagwa hit Mugabe, the coup in 2017, up until today. Over 6 billion US dollars has been looted. How much more will be looted by the time we get to the next elections, which we don't even know when they are going to be? It is time that we rise, Zimbabweans. It is time that we stand firm and in solidarity. We walk with talk. Let us work together. I am calling to that one police officer watching this video. For how long are you going to adjust in that vessel called the ZANU Pf, where they are killing you slowly. For how long are you going to watch your children suffer? They are going to school without even a pocket money because you cannot afford it. Your children are going on a single meal. Why? Because what the government is giving you cannot sustain even buying a grocery for your family the whole month. For how long, as a military man, are you going to suffer? We are seeing servicemen in the security forces, they are fainting during the course of their duties. For how long are you going to sustain that? It is time that we stand up together, we fight for a good cause, so that we increase in prosperity and live much better.